Hey, what's up, team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. Today's video is judging and perceiving. So I'm going to explain about what those are, how they relate to you, and just make sense of that whole MBTI code. So the judging functions are thinking and feeling. So the judging functions are rational functions. They tell us how we should organize and make decisions. They help us create structure and tell us what we should do in a situation. So the two options are thinking and feeling. Thinking is organizing and making decisions based on impersonal, detached ideas and criteria, like evidence, facts, numbers, systems, procedures, those kind of things, right? Formulas. It's impersonal and doesn't have that human component, basically. Feeling is then the kind of opposite side of that. It's more personal. It's more human-centric. It's about harmony and values and beliefs. So when you make a decision, you naturally prefer one of those two. There are subcategories within that: introverted feeling, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, extroverted thinking, but basically thinking or feeling. So within your MBTI code, INFP, F, feeling. So I use feeling as my judging function preference. Not always, of course, you need to use both. You need to kind of balance yourself in that sense. But it's very important to understand which you prefer to use and how you go about that. So if your MBTI code is something like ESTJ, the J at the end says that judging, the judging function, thinking or feeling, in this case, T is for thinking, is the one that's being extroverted. The one that is kind of easy to see about yourself. So if somebody looks at you, if somebody kind of studies you a little bit, they can figure out, oh, he's probably a thinker. Because that's the one that's apparent to the outer world, because that's the one you use to interact with the outer world more often than the other ones. So ESTJ means you extrovert your thinking. INFJ means you extrovert your feeling. So the J at the end kind of shows us that judging is the one that we're using in the outer world. And because of that, you get those ideas that, judgers want structure. They want task completion. That you get those stereotypes of like judgers are always on time. They're the ones to finish the work. If they start a project or whatever, they're the ones that are organized and creating that structure in the world. And it's kind of true, right? If you're extroverting your judging, if you're trying to make a structure and organize the outer world, you're more likely to make plans and try to stick with the routine, the structure, right? So, yeah, I think that's good with that. The perceiving functions are sensing or intuition. Those are the ones that help you learn and gather information, the ones that you use to perceive the world. They tell you, what things are, where they're going, that kind of stuff. Sensing tells you what something is, tangibly. What is known about this actual object or experience. It's all about taking your senses and involving them in the experiences that you've been in and other people too. So they just tell you those kind of the real tangible details about stuff. Intuition would then be the kind of opposite direction of that. Intuition is telling you where something's going, abstract ideas about it, recognition of patterns and thinking of different possibilities and hypotheticals about something. So it's looking at the object or whatever it is and kind of branching off to more abstract ideas and connecting it to what things could be or what they were in the past and where that's kind of flowing into the future. So within the MBTI code that hopefully you've figured out yours, if you're like an ENFP, the P is saying that you extrovert your perceiving function. ENFP, N is intuition, so you use your intuition outside of yourself. It's the one that people can kind of pick up about you more readily, the one that you show the world. If you have a P at the end of your code, that usually shows that, you know, you're more open to taking in more information. You want to just kind of adapt to the environment around you and not make that structure that the judging functions want. It is a little bit more complicated than that. The introverts, like INFP, I extrovert my intuition, right? But I'm not an extrovert, so my dominant function is introverted. So that means introverted feeling is my dominant function. And then my auxiliary is extroverted intuition. So it gets kind of jumbled up, but MBTI is a good kind of way to understand how the main processes work. You know, ISTJ, introverted sensing, thinking, judging. Like I said, judging is about kind of creating structure and organizing your ideas. And then the criteria that you use for that is thinking. Impersonal, detached, you know, not belief and value and harmony based. So I hope that cleared up some of those ideas. To relate it to games, I always like to think of the perceiving functions as scouts. They're the ones that are assessing the battlefield. Well, I guess looking at the battlefield, trying to understand, like, you know, just where things are going, what's actually out there. And they're not the ones to make the decisions. They're the ones to just observe, see what's out there. And then they have their own criteria for doing that. The sensors is going to look at like the armor that they have and the specific weapons and kind of just more tangible details picked up by the senses. And then intuition is going to think like, well, what could be out there? What could be behind this fog of war over here? Those kind of ideas about that. The scouts then would pass that information to the judging functions, which I think of as the casters. The mage, thinker, or healer, feeler. And then those are the ones that are actually taking that information and putting it into a structure to make a plan to push forward and either, I guess, keep your troops alive and make sure that you're not sacrificing more people than you have to. Or I guess a mage could be looking at it and saying like, well, the enemy has this many marines and tanks. If I go in there with all these mutalisks or something like that, then, statistically, we should come out okay. So I hope that makes sense. Sorry if I ranted a little bit. That kind of happens. If this video was helpful in some way, or any of the other videos, please pass it along. Share it with a friend that you think it could help too. And if I didn't explain things in a way that made sense, please let me know. Right down below in the comments, and I will work on it. So the next video is going to be about sensing. Yep, that's what it's going to be about. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next video. Good luck, have fun. Peace.